What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some more r/am I the Butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. Now, yesterday over on YouTube, we had two new members. We had Adrian Bott and Miles Brinkley. Thank you so much for your support, and for all the members for your continued support and pledges towards the channel. It means the absolute world, and I'm so very thankful for you too, and for everyone for taking the times out of your day to be here. It's absolutely crazy and still blows my mind every day. I can't believe it when I look at I go look on the channel, I think there's actually people watching me. It's insane. But anyway, let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from SLQ Bug. Am I the arsehole for not helping my former stepmom and step-siblings after my dad's death? My dad died relatively recently and didn't have much left in terms of assets. He had remarried to Ruth, but I, now 32, was already an adult and don't really consider his wife my stepmom. While she technically got his belongings, they weren't much after paying his outstanding debts. I, however, was his life insurance beneficiary, which was $500k. We've checked with the lawyers, there's nothing she can do, as it was a policy he had updated in the last year, and at least where we live, life insurance is treated separate from inheritance. He married a significantly younger woman who has 2 kids in high school. He was paying the lion's share of the bills, but they didn't have a college fund. Now Ruth is asking me to give her money for living expenses, as well as enough for both of her kids to go through college. Personally, I don't think it should have ever been my dad's job to provide for her kids, and I've never felt close to them. Now that I'm beginning my own life, my wife and I would like to use the funds to pay off what's left on our student loan debts, a down payment for a house, as well as a little cushion. Ruth says I'm being selfish, but I just think that the fact that he set up me as a beneficiary as recently as he did, I'm following his wishes by using it to advance my life. Ruth brings up the fact that I don't have kids, while my dad had stepkids. But my wife and I would like to if and when this pandemic ever ends, so we want to keep the cushion for that. I also paid for college myself through loans and scholarships, so I don't really sympathise with them not having a college fund. It's been a hell of a year and I'm about to just block Ruth because it feels like harassment at this point, but I'm curious what people from a third party perspective think. I will try my best to respond to info posts. My initial question is why would your dad change the life insurance policy to be you as the beneficiary? Why hasn't he done it for his current wife? That's the only question that's really popping into my head right now. We might get that answered in the comments, but I can't say you're the arsehole for accepting money that was, that's for you. That was intended for you. Your father obviously put it in your name, so it is intended for you to as you say, further advance your life. And I do feel sorry for the stepmom because it is an unfortunate position that she's in now. We don't really know what their love life was like, but I imagine the stepmom, and I'm putting this in the sort of perfect scenario terms, I imagine the wife was looking forward to a future life with her husband and all that sort of stuff, and life was going to be great until something happened. And then it all just fell apart. So, I do feel sorry for them and the kids in this situation. But also at the same time, where's the kid's dad? Why isn't he helping out in any way? Or maybe he is. Maybe he is paying some sort of child support. We don't know. But shits and farts, what her name says, not the arsehole, and don't give her a cent. You were his bio child and he tried to provide for you. If he wanted to provide for his wife and her kids, he would have. Tell her that if she doesn't stop harassing you, you'll get a restraining order and use that money to have a good life, mate. Anicetus Max says, not the arsehole, your father clearly intended for you to receive the money. And if getting her kid's college paid for her is a worry for her, why isn't she contacting their actual father? Mizelle says, not the arsehole, your dad would have known what he was doing by naming you as the beneficiary of his policy. He was setting up to provide for his kid. Your step-siblings' biological parents can pay for their education. Edit, please don't feel guilty about the money. Sorry for your loss. Abernal13 says, not the arsehole, louder for the people in the back, not the arsehole. Take the money and take care of yourself and your wife, period, full stop, the end. And Terry says, not the arsehole, you should prioritise paying your college loans over paying for college for your dad's wife's kids' college. Ruth married a much older man. If her financial security was important, she should have probably discussed that with him. The fact that your father intentionally made you the beneficiary to the policy somewhat recently and made no plans for Ruth leads me to believe that the relationship wasn't going well. Your father was obviously thinking about his plans for after he passed and intentionally didn't provide for Ruth. Barring your father asking you to share with Ruth, there's absolutely no reason you should do so. Now I turn it to you guys. What do you think OP should do in this situation? Do you think that they should maybe share the money and pay for those stepchildren's college? Or do you think no, the father did give the son this money, so he should do what he wants with it? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 1. Now our next story comes from Sigs for Grandpa. Am I the arsehole for telling the guy behind me in the grocery store line to mind his fucking business? This happened this morning. I was at a grocery store buying some food, and then while the cashier was done scanning my shit, I asked for her to get me a carton of Camels. I don't smoke, they were for my grandpa. So when I asked, the cashier went to the place where they kept them. The guy behind me in line, middle-aged dude, said, "You're so young, you shouldn't be smoking." I don't think this was an appropriate comment, even if I did smoke, because it's none of his fucking business. I said they're not for me, they're for my grandpa. The cashier came back with the cigs and rang him up. And then the dude piped up again and said something about how my grandpa shouldn't smoke either. Listen, my grandpa is 92 years old. Smoking makes him happy, and if he wants to smoke, I'm more than happy to help. But none of that was this guy's business. So instead of saying something clever or snappy, I said sorry, but I don't think that's any of your fucking business. I was admittedly extremely pissed when I said this. The cashier gave me a look and the guy behind me said, "Sorry, Jesus." I left the grocery store and told my dad about it, and he said the dude was not being an arsehole, but just trying to be friendly. I think he's totally fucking wrong. The guy was being invasive and gross, but I'm also not shy about public confrontation, so I don't know if I was in the right here. Now I might get hate for this one. I'm going to say straight away, not the arsehole for turning around and saying, look, mind your own business, but the way you went about it and like the unneeded fucking in there as well, like mind your own fucking business. I think it was just a bit over aggressive, if that makes sense. Maybe you should have been, but if I put myself in that person's shoes, and this is only really from my perspective, I would have turned around and just said, look, mind your own business, please. It's nothing to do with you. I wouldn't have turned around and go, mind your fucking business. But I don't also blame you for doing it. But just because of that, I'm going to have to say it's an everyone sucks here, in my opinion. But let's have a look what Alula says, which says, not the arsehole. This guy sounds like the kind of person who says, you'd be prettier if you'd smile. I usually, when in work-related situations, put on my biggest fakest smile, which I affectionately call my cheerleader smile, and tell them to have a very, very nice day in an over-enthusiastic customer service voice. It will usually enrage them because they can see I'm being sarcastic, but can't comment further, as I'm smiling and being polite. Functioning Disaster says, not the arsehole, it's none of his business, and he shouldn't be saying anything unless it's actively affecting him. Also, I was so ready for this to be about masks, not gonna lie. Exquisite Hash Brown says, not the arsehole, and I don't know why everyone is clutching their pearls over swearing. Giving strangers unsolicited advice is not friendly, as your dad put it. You also first attempted non-confrontationally to dismiss the dude by telling they were not for you. He took a beat to process and then ignored your dismissal by offering more unsolicited advice. You succinctly shut him down. Now, some good points there that he did come back, for a second round with you. So yeah, I kind of want to say not the arsehole now. Responsible for Self says, everyone sucks here. Yes, he was nosy. The way you justify your hostile reaction is why civility is no longer an option in society anymore. We can and should do better. Not every poor interaction requires you to go ballistic. If at some point in time we get to the point of thinking that was rude, but instead of attacking back, do something different. Congratulations, you just showed two people in your world you're kind of a dick to others. That guy didn't learn he shouldn't butt in, but he learned you have a temper and a not very nice person. You left that impression on both the nosy guy and the cashier. And Kitty Grew a Mustache says, everyone sucks here. He was rude for saying what he said, and you were rude for being snappy and swearing at him. Just wish people were generally nicer to each other. Someone says something like that to me, yeah, they're being a bit rude, but if they're not being aggressive or horrible, I just assume they're trying to come from a good place, and I treat them that way. Because what's the harm? I'd have just laughed and said, yeah, but he's 92, he gets to smoke if he wants to. Just why not be friendly when there's no need to be rude, even if someone is being a little cheeky? And that's kind of the way I feel. I think that explained it much better than I could. But now I turn it to you guys. What would you have done in that situation if you was in the queue and someone approached you and said those things? How would you deal with it? Would you deal with it like OP, or would you go with it down a different route? Now let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 2. Now, pre-warning on this next story, some of the language is quite sort of graphic and sort of vivid in what they say, and it talks about sort of recovering after pregnancy, so it talks about blood, tears, and all this kind of stuff. So just a pre-warning if you're maybe a bit squeamish towards these sort of things. I'm just throwing that out there, so feel free to skip if you want to. And also there's an abbreviation in here which is OBGYN, which I'm going to pronounce as OBGYN for this story. I know that might be wrong, but I can't keep saying OBGYN for the entire story. So this next story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for telling my girlfriend I was sick of paying for her to visit OBGYN when there's nothing wrong with her? My girlfriend, 39, gave birth to our daughter 6 months ago. Since then, it's been a continuous torturous cycle of her visiting OBGYN for checkups, then telling her she's fine, and then her complaining about their expert opinion and trying to involve me, who is no more a doctor than she is. After our first few postnatal checkups, she has now insisted on bringing me along because she was angry that her OBGYN, after the 3-month period, found it unnecessary to examine her for tears she claims to have and just told her to do Kegels. At her appointment, she claims that she feels like her uterus is falling out, that she can't jog because she pees herself the entire time, or that blood clots the size of our baby's head keep coming out of her vagina, and that she has the worst back pain she's ever experienced. Her OBGYN would in turn tell me that this is a natural part of recovery, and that my girlfriend was likely having a particularly heavy period, and that the only thing that she needed an OBGYN for was if she wanted to go back on birth control. She once again yelled at her OBGYN that her urine is red, and that her OBGYN said, yes, that's what happens when you're on your period. Our lactation consultant also got in a fight with her, which made my girlfriend start crying a while back. They basically said there was nothing preventing her pumping breast milk, and that it's natural for women to suffer back pain after birth, and there's nothing you can really do about it. They told her to stop describing their back pain as if it was a kidney infection. My girlfriend had quit her job because she claims her back pain would make her customer service job unbearable, and now I have to pay for everything. I'm sick of footing the bills for Ubers and medical visits, only to be told that everything happening to my girlfriend is natural and millions of women are going through it and still manage to work high-powered careers, have more babies, breastfeed, and not go to the doctor every week to be told that they're fine, and ask again if they want to schedule an appointment for an IUD. Yesterday my girlfriend said she wanted to make another appointment because she feels like something is tearing down there. I was finally exasperated enough and said I was sick of her always running to the doctor and doing the same thing, expecting different results. I told her I heard it with my own ears, that she was fine, and I was tired of her hemorrhaging money for these doctor's visits. Am I the arsehole? Now, I'm not going to pretend that I know all the details of this story because I don't, but from a basic human perspective, that person knows their own body. They know what's going on, they know how they're feeling inside after what's happened. No one else can truly know, not even the doctor can actually feel what she's feeling. So if she does need the doctor, then she needs to go, and maybe to see a different doctor this time round, instead of keep going to the same ones and being told the same thing, because they're obviously just going round in circles now. Maybe find a different doctor and see what they say instead, because if your girlfriend is really feeling that way, it's really important to get checked, especially some of the things she was describing there doesn't sound quite normal to me. But let's have a look at the comments, because I'm sure they will clear some of these things up for us. Academic Panic says, what the fuck is the comment about it's normal for urine to be red on your period? No, it's fucking not. You're the arsehole, mate. Your girlfriend is obviously experiencing pain and discomfort, and nobody is taking her seriously. She needs to get a referral or find a new OBGYN, one who isn't dismissive, and you need to show some damn support. Redoubtable South says, you're the arsehole. She should get a second opinion from a different OBGYN. What she's describing doesn't sound normal, and if she's describing back pain consistent with kidney infections and blood in her urine, she should be checked for a goddamn kidney infection. This is a problem faced by millions of women around the world at any point in their lives, but also very frequently after childbirth. Major problems are outright ignored as that's normal and that's what happens after childbirth, but it's completely unacceptable, and you're doing the same damn thing to her. Yeah, and just touching on that point, I know it's completely unrelated to actual pregnancy and things like that, but with my dad and taking him to hospital and the things my dad's been describing with his pains and stuff, and we found it ourselves that some medical professionals totally play it down and say it's something else. More recently, when my dad went in to have one of his lungs drained, Yeah, bit graphic there itself, but yeah, he had this lung drained, and they apparently you're meant to have a small amount of fluid around the sort of lining of the lung, right? And this, you're not meant to totally drain it completely dry. But my dad said he was feeling pain, and they said, oh no, that's probably something to do with the chemo, and they kept draining it, and they drained nearly everything out of his lung, and that's why it was so painful. And that was preventable just by listening to what my dad was saying. And so, you know, they're not always right. They are human. They can make mistakes too. So it's totally right to get your girlfriend checked out. And please do. But O'Kill says, you're the arsehole. Many doctors don't take women's pain and issues seriously. She's in pain and she's scared. I get it, that's expensive and tiring. But if she feels something is wrong still, I recommend getting different opinions. MM172 says, you're the arsehole at minimum. Your girlfriend needs a doctor who will refer her to someone who can help her sort out whether this is all in her head and prescribe treatment accordingly. At worst, she's being blown off about very real problems and needs someone to take her claims seriously enough to actually freaking examine her. Why hasn't she taken it upon herself to get a second opinion? I don't know, but something is wrong here. Quit yelling and help her get it addressed. Honeybean P says she needs to see a pelvic floor specialist. Many people do not get referred to them after birth, but it's still very important. And Serenity Pity Jones says, you're the arsehole. Your girlfriend knows her body better than you do. Better than the doctors do. Something is off, whether that's due to postpartum depression and anxiety or an actual physical issue. Go to any women's health page, sub, Facebook support group and ask a general question. How long did it take you to get diagnosed with endometriosis, I don't know if I pronounced that right, fibroids, or any of the dozens of other health issues? Often, but not always female specific. I'd warrant a guess that the average amount of time is at least a decade. It took me 20 freaking years to get my endometriosis diagnosed. Do you know how long that is to suffer in horrific pain every single month with so much blood pouring out of me that I can barely leave my bathroom, much less my house, for days at a time? Only to have numerous doctors tell me that you're fine, nothing is wrong with you. Look, I get it, it's annoying you to have to watch what you think is hypochondria in action. Imagine how it feels to have her told repeatedly that all of this is in her head, and to have her own partner undermining her and telling that she's being annoying by continuing to seek answers. It's just PPD/PPA. There's a simple fix. Once she's on the right meds and getting therapy, she'll be on the mend in no time. If there's something physically wrong, she could have a longer surge ahead of her. I hope you can find it within yourself to be a more supportive partner, and if not, then just shut the fuck up while she does what she needs to do to be well. I like the ending there. Now I turn it to you guys. What would you do in this situation? Imagine if you was the girlfriend and you was being told this by everyone around you. How would you feel? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 3. And our next story is from Testing Sister. Am I the arsehole for being mad my sister was testing my boyfriend? On mobile, I, 21 female, have a boyfriend, 22 male, who is super awesome and I love him. We've been dating for 2 years and starting to get serious, so we decided to meet each other's parental units. We went to my parents last week and we're going to stay for a few days. We didn't. My sister 18 was all on him and in his personal space. She's already a touchy person, but this was making him uncomfortable. He kept telling her no and to stop doing what she's doing. She kept doing it and we stayed for dinner and left the next morning. My sister texted me when we left and said, well, he's pretty loyal. I asked her what, and she said she was testing him for me. I hate when I read stories of people testing their partners, so I told him, hey, my sister tried testing you. I didn't tell her to do it. Luckily he responded, I know, so that's good. I was angry with her and told my parents, who said they saw no problem with it. I told them I won't bring my boyfriend for Christmas since they saw no problem with my sister making him uncomfortable. They told me to stop being a bitch about it. Am I the arsehole for being mad at my sister and telling my parents I won't bring him? They liked him, I just have a problem with them now. What is it with people doing these little tests on other people's partners and things like that? We had a story not so long back where the whole family was in on it, on testing someone's girlfriend, and I think the brother put his hand on her leg or something. I hate to say it, but I'm going to call it out. This is sexual harassment. If she's doing this, if she's touching your boyfriend when he's saying no and all this sort of stuff, as a guest in someone else's house, absolutely despicable behaviour. And for the parents to back this up too is absolutely disgusting. That's one seriously messed up family and they all need some help in my opinions. But Sammy Loops 1 says, not the arsehole. What your sister did was gross and your parents are out of line for backing her up. I'm sure that's going to make every family gathering he attends uncomfortable for him going forward. Claire Not a Bear says, your sister wasn't testing your boyfriend, she was sexually harassing him. Max Fury Toad says, not the arsehole, that's very creepy and sounds more of a, if he's into it we fuck, and if he doesn't, it was a prank bro. CDN Border Girl says, not the arsehole, I find what she was not only rude but totally disrespectful to you and your boyfriend. She was basically saying she doesn't trust your judgment to pick out a mate that will be faithful to you and not cheat. If my daughter ever did that to anyone, she'd be getting a rude reality check. Plus, after having to be on guard all day just to meet your family, why would you want to bring him again on a day that's about relaxing and enjoying your family and friends, when neither of you will be able to relax, not knowing what else your sister might try, and knowing your parents won't do anything about her behaviour? Curious how she would react if the tables were turned. And Pineapple Win says, not the arsehole, your sister must think she's one sexy goddess. How could he possibly resist? Eye roll. Your family are being weird and creepy. Do not waste Christmas with that mess. Now I turn it to you guys. What do you guys think of the situation, and how could you deal with it going forward if you can, without going like totally no contact with that family? Is there a way through it? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 4. Once again guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories, and if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. The time out of your day is always truly appreciated, and I will see you, hopefully, in the next one. Take care guys, much love.